Hi guys, and welcome back to Trekyards 2. I'm Captain Foley 2.
And also out of focus, because the new one is... Because that... Well, God, I don't know how to go with this. Stuart, you threw me for such a loop there. Is the sequel as good as the original? I don't know. It's been for 7 years. Took you long enough. But you're not Stuart A. Well, you are Stuart A. You're not Stuart B, because you are Stuart
I'm Stuart A. Canadian A.
You know that show that came out, the Star Trek show came out last week?
Yes.
Not the other one. Picard! The interesting one.
Yes.
It's a show that keeps on giving. Despite moving to an alternate timeline where everything will be different, the production can't help but show us the goodies. It feels like Christmas this morning, and there's several mornings worth where the production team just keep giving us stuff online. No ifs or buts. You like that? Here's a thing. Here's a clear view. Everyone's like, oh. What are we going to talk about today, Stuart?
We're going to talk about the Excelsior 2 class starship that was in the fleet shot of the very first episode of Picard Season 2. Ironically, as you guys know, I'm not the biggest proponent or fan of the Excelsior class. I mean, it has grown on me over the years, the last few years especially. But when I saw this, I was like, ooh, I'm intrigued.
And there isn't much of it in the original episode. It's a front view, you get the proportions, it feels about Excelsior. And just to reiterate, guys, this is a first look of these new images. So they are pretty clear. And we'll do full comparison renders to match angles a little bit later. So very much want to get it out there to you guys. First reaction. But there's a lot here to look at, so it's a good first reaction.
So when I saw it, I'm like, okay, that's a nice looking ship. It's wider, it looks better. And a lot of people were like, oh, it's the Obina class. It's the one from Lower Decks. And it's like, it's not, though.
Trekyards said no straight away. Like, no. Most of you haven't looked at it like we have. No.
And we're glad that it's not, in fact. And it's not a refit. It's not a refit Excelsior either. That point was made very clear. This is a new build. This is the Excelsior 2 class.
Yes, so spiritual successor, literally, figuratively, with even a, as Raffi comes in on, the USS Excelsior. So I guess they love the Excelsior very much. They've recommissioned the Excelsior class with a new Excelsior. What bosses are they? So this first view, Stuart, is such a classic view of the original Excelsior. And you can see orthographics. We'll look at those in the second view because they're really, really good. Shows you the length, all of the things, Doug and John. I mean, a lot of information here. What do you think of this view, then?
I love it. I love most three-quarter views, honestly. This one, if I first saw this, though, just scrolling through pictures, I would just think it's a Excelsior refit of some sort. But I mean, you look closer at it, the secondary hull is definitely different enough. And so is the neck. So, no, it looks really good. And you can see here, too, the way the engines go back. It looks like there's more of a severe dip in them, but there's not really. It's just a gradual. I like it. What about you?
The phrase that comes to mind is, it's so bold of them to go so classic.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the new designs feel so just as if someone in the production higher up said, don't make it look like the original Star Treks. This is clearly an Excelsior that's taken bits and yet already you can see all the proportions are different, all the dimensions are different, all the angles are different, and yet it feels like an Excelsior. And not just that, it feels to me very much like a 25th, late 22nd, 24th. It feels exactly what it should be. That's really good. This is what we would expect from anything post-Nemesis in terms of vibe. And I'm really proud of them for this. I like the Excelsior a lot. It has a really nice simplicity to its shapes. This is a lot more sharp. I don't know if the scaling makes sense with the windows, especially the next view is more clear. And also we'll do a scale view in the full breakdown. They are really small windows, so it is definitely an upscale. I mean, you can see the rim of the saucer. I mean, that is razor thin, so it feels weird, but it's a upscale chip for sure. I think the rim might be a bit too thin, sharp for me compared to everything else, because like I say, that's this view, you know.
Well, guys, this is where I want to say hit like and subscribe and make sure you click the notification bell icon, because we are going to be doing a comparison of this with the original Excelsior, or all the Excelsiors, even the refit probably. And I'm eager to see the differences side by side.
Direct
so
render
this is just a first. Yeah, this is just a first look, first reaction, but we will be doing a more detailed one at some point. So please, if you don't want to miss that, hit that button.
Yeah, this is we're blessed to have actual views. Let's look at them ASAP. But the next view, though, gives us a much better feeling. And this is what I mean about the scale of the windows. These giant windows feel a bit off to the mini windows. unless they are meant to represent the Excelsior style smaller windows, which would seem odd compared to the new. But yeah, what do you think of this view?
This looks very much Star Trek Online, just because of the darker hull details, like the striping. I'm liking this. Not the biggest fan of the saucer shape directly from the top, honestly, but any other angle it looks fine. I definitely like the centerpiece between the nacelle struts, and even the way the nacelle struts both angle back and then as they go up angle forward. It's like, it's such a cool look. Because, you know, from the top they angle straight back, or like back a bit, and from the side they go forward. So they go back and then forward. It's a neat design idea, and the nacelles are phenomenal. I like the way they look.
Yeah, they're they've obviously designed a few iterative design. I mean, nacelles are big, broad, and fill the gambit in terms of Trek. So this is another set of new nacelles. They're very E-inspired in terms of sharp, but in a very curved way. So they're not the same lineage, but you get like advanced E vibes while being its own unique beast. I like the integration of the facades a lot. You know, it kind of feels to me like a injection pen, like a hyper spray. If you took one, the tip being tipped is kind of the way the back syringe feel gives to me. But no, really faithful. Obviously, recanonizing impulse crystals as a part of the design language. It's on the Stargazer. It's here again. Phaser strips. You have got escape pod hatches here, although I didn't see any on the other version. The bridge dome, I think, is unremarkable considering everything else. It's lackluster.
Even with the original Excelsior, when we get to that comparison, the bridge was always misscaled.
Horribly misscaled.
They say it's set in the saucer because otherwise it would not work at all. So maybe they're trying to show that here as well. But this was done by John Eves and Doug Drexler, it says. So
now let's look at those orthos, or those two sides. Top view, unremarkable, but not every ship looks good from every angle. A-okay. Side view is very, very much an Excelsior Sovereign with a razor-thin saucer. But I like extending that neck. It gives a really, really nice bulk that... It's weird, it's different, but it's the same.
Yeah, it's one of those things. It fixes some of the issues I had with the original Excelsior design. In my mind, anyway. So I really like the look of it. Actually, it looks similar to one I saw online a few years ago, a JJ version of the Excelsior. But somebody had done the engine shape from the side. It kind of is reminiscent of that. But, yeah.
Well, that's the great beauty and annoyance of Trek design, is that if you want it to look like an Excelsior, you have to keep certain things. And so therefore, for fans doing a reinvention, the same logic should apply if you're whatever. Like, you know, but I think it's probably a bit too fat neck, probably. But it works with its own aesthetic. Like I said, I think I have more issue with the sauce now being just obscenely thin. But the balance is fun. I like it. And it feels now like a really nice, I don't know what obviously style of ship it is. I assume Explorer-esque. But to have such a big amount of internal volume, that's a statement of intent. One thing, though, worth talking about briefly is that both ships' registries, because we've got the USS Eureka and USS Excelsior, are both in the NCC 42 region. The original Excelsior was NCC 2000, and that was when it was in the TMP era. And then modern or normal ships sort of in the 6 or 7 designation, 7 being more like Voyager and stuff. So it's not always the rule, but that is the general rule, is that it goes through, and then newer ships are in the 8. So this being in the 4 is an extremely odd touch, because these are certainly not Enterprise C era, and if they're not a refit of the Excelsior, then they're fresh builds. So they look more advanced than Enterprise C era, but this kind of tells us it's a refit of the Enterprise C era. What do you think? Because that's a weird thing for a team that's obviously doing so many knowledgeable, clever things. That's a real standout.
Well, no, I'm glad, because I mean everybody was on us about, well, shouldn't the Stargazer be the Stargazer A? It's like, no, it shouldn't be. Not every ship gets that legacy designation. Sorry, and even this one, which
no one does. The Enterprise was special.
Well, very few. Yeah. The USS, this is still the USS Excelsior, but it's not. You know, I mean, the Stargazer had an 8 put in front of the original serial number, or the registry number, which is fine. This one is not 2000. You know, I love that it's a different number. I love that they're doing that to kind of squash that. Because people are, as soon as they find out, why isn't there an A after this? It's like, well, it shouldn't be. It's not the original registry number. It's not how that's not how that works. So,
but obviously with the Stargazer, they wanted it to be a legacy factor, so they legacied it, continuing.
Yeah. As for the era, I mean, the number might be representative of that, but it also might be because the Stargazer has just an 8 in front of the original Stargazer number. It could be that, well, I guess with the 4, it kind of shows that it's older, but he also said it was a new build, so I don't know where it fits or why, but it just looks good as a 4-2.
Because the team explicitly showed every single ship in the Armada, which is astounding, and the registries are extremely consistent with what you'd expect from the older sovereigns, etc., being more in the 7 line, the Zhenheis being the 8, the Akiras being the 6, a bit weird, but that would make vague sense, they're older, and then the newer ships being a 9, in fact, some of the new Stowe ships which look more advanced. These are the only ships in the 4, both Excelsior variants. But also the Stargazer being 8-2 rather 9-2. The Stargazer is brand new, and yet other ships are 91870. The then that's
There's the case to be made that the Stargazer is not new. When Picard's line of the more refits these get, the newer they look, the younger they look. It could be that it was newly refitted from an earlier version, not the original. And then Rios got it because it's been a year and a half since season 1, and Picard's Picard's saying that line and having the line of the Borg inspired technology being on board could indicate just a new refit of the Stargazer.
Yeah, I've heard conflicting things from people online, as in people from production. If it is a new build, fresh build, there's a few pieces left over. There's no quite cohesive piece. But even if that was the case with Stargazer, it doesn't actually equate to these. But I felt they would have to be refits, but I like the idea of it being there was an Excelsior refit, which is called the Excelsior 2 class in Enterprise C era, and then this is the refit of that for the new era with the new nacelles. Everything else would be pretty much on point with Enterprise C. Yeah, we wouldn't see much of it. The Excelsior is a very classic class, and you can just pump new nacelles on things, no issue. But to be the only ones that stand out being that low, and that's low for registry, feels very intentional.
Yeah. Well, that's a whole other discussion, talking about registry numbers. So, anyway, guys, comment what you thought about this ship. Do you like the design? Did you want to see more of it? Because you should have when you heard Excelsior. And let us know in the comment section. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and click notify so you don't miss any conversations that we have. We have lots of great breakdowns. This is only the first look at this. There will be a more detailed comparison look with the original Excelsior, including size charts and stuff. So be sure to notify yourself so you don't miss those. And live discussions like we just had about the registry number. If you have an opinion, you want to join us for those live discussions so that you can chime in real time and talk to us directly. So there's a way that you can do that and not miss it. How is that, Samuel?
Well, like I say, subscribing. But really, just join those lives. You know, they're probably going to be at 9 p.m. GMT, 4 p.m. Eastern. If they are, then you can put in a super chat to let us know what you think, or divert the conversation in an entirely different way. That is the power of the super chat, because that helps us do what we do these shows for you guys, these free contents, all sorts of content, all sorts of renders, views, analysis. It's all there. You guys know, so that support does help. Those are great ways, super chats, but Patreon, PayPal, joining the channel via YouTube, all really, really useful ways. And if enough of you give in small amounts, it mounts up and we can keep doing what we do.
So, until next time, everyone, I am Captain Foley.
I am Connor Combs.
And we will see you guys in the future.
Well, bye, guys.
Bye. Excelsior.
2!
Oh, nice.